Hi, welcome to another Retro Rewind, and in this video we're taking a look at F1 Championship Edition, which means we're going back to the very early days of the PS3, as this was the first F1 title released on the PS3. It was also the last F1 title that was released by a Sony-owned studio before Sony lost the license and it moved back over to Codemasters, where it's been ever since. So it's quite an interesting title. It's the first and only Sony studio title for an F1 game they did for the PS3, and as I say, it's very early days of the PS3 in that regard. So how does it stack up? Well, actually, interestingly, it still plays extremely well. It's not a sim, it's very much an arcade F1 racer, but that was pretty much the norm back then, so it can hardly be faulted for that. But it's quite enjoyable, it's quite accessible from that point of view, it's easy to play with a gamepad. Unfortunately, I couldn't get my wheel working with what is the demo version, which is what I'm using here, but gamepad-wise, yeah, it works extremely well. Just in case I messed it all up, I did go for the Super Rigori and Ide, which means any off-track antics and crashing can't be blamed on me, but entirely on the driver I'm channeling in this regard, although I did try and behave myself when I used button for the demo run-through on that. And yeah, I tried it in the wet, looks pretty good in the wet, and the damage modelling still excellent on it, being perfectly honest. And none of this rewind nonsense you get in the Codemasters title, even though I do use rewind, I'm going to admit to that. If you crash out with full damage on in this, you are retired back to your pit box, and that's it, race over for you. It's got commentary during the race as well as before and after, which is a bit unusual because you've got both the commentators' voices and the pit crew talking to you. The tracks are actually reasonably well modelled given their time, and it's good to have Catalonia back without the final chicane at it where you can really power through, and that was probably the bit I most enjoyed in this, was Catalonia and taking that final turn properly flat out rather than with the chicane to slow it down as you've got now. But overall, no, I actually think it's held up quite well. There's nice graphical touches on it, you know, you get some nice pickup off of the grass and the gravel traps as you run off and run back on, and it's all animated fairly well. The in-car view and the Halo, what would be, well, TV pod view, no Halo, obviously, that I've used in here, that all stack up fairly well. It's a good fun title. It actually sounds pretty good as well, and considering this is early PS3, you can kind of tell that it's bridging that divide between the PS2 and the PS3. It's not up there with the early GT, so GT HD releases, although I'm going to have to go back to that and check I'm not imagining things on that one and how good it looked. But no, it looks pretty good, it runs pretty well, and yeah, it actually stacks up as quite a playable game, being perfectly honest, and it's nice and very interesting to revisit prior F1 seasons and prior F1 lineups and circuits, etc. that you just don't get today, with it being a year-on-year sequel, you know, and that's understandable, but it's quite interesting that, you know, they don't get revisited as much as in a lot of other titles where, you know, you get the historic stuff including the circuits, and you don't really get that in the F1 titles. You get the historic content in there in terms of cars and, you know, headline drivers, but never really a full season revisit. And as I say, I fully understand why that's the case, but it's quite an interesting thing to do. And overall, F1 CE, it kind of opens a door and a question in my mind. What would F1 as a series have ended up like if Sony had have kept hold of the license and it hadn't gone to Codis? Where would we have ended up? Because this, for a PS3 first release, is actually quite a promising title, and yeah, enjoyed my time with it. So a quick look at F1 CE on Retro Rewind. Let me know what you think down below. Do you remember playing this? Does it bring back any memories Warhammer is good or bad for you. Is it something you still play? If it does, please do let me know. I'd be interested to know that without a shadow of a doubt. And if you've enjoyed this video, please do hit the like button. And if you want to see more content like this, subscribe away and hit the bell icon to be notified when new content gets uploaded. Thanks very much. Take care.